Okay, I think we'll begin. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We know that people are coming in late because they're going through security in the building. We have a very safe building, and we're proud of the people who keep it safe. Please come forward. You won't be called on, even if you're in the front row. But I'm Jane Harman, the president and CEO of the Wilson Center, and absolutely delighted to welcome a friend and a friend's husband, who will soon be in the room, Marie Royce, to the Wilson Center. Assistant Secretary of State Royce was sworn in March 2018. As Assistant Secretary of State for Educational and Cultural Affairs, she oversees a wide range of educational, professional, cultural, and athletic exchange programs that promote mutual understanding and create networks among citizens of the United States and other nations. A really good thing to do right now in our messy world. The office was established, her office, in 1961, who knew, and plays an essential role in the State Department. Most of us know, and this very bright, informed audience knows, that many key positions at the State Department remain unfilled, and its budget, at least there's a proposal by the administration to cut its budget, though Congress has been working to restore funding. I tell you that because that makes Marie Royce's role even more important as she works to create and maintain the global and personal connections that are the basis for international cooperation. And for anyone who thinks we don't need international cooperation, you have come to the wrong place. The Wilson Center is devoted to promoting international cooperation. In these times, Marie Royce is the muscle behind our country's soft power. I love that. I'm going to say that over.
Oh, thank you.
Everybody, recite with me. She is the muscle behind our country's soft power.
Thank you.
And she knows a thing or two, that's on TV too, about the power of cultural exchange. She's an alum, and you'll hear about this, of an American Council of Political Young Leaders exchange program that sent her to Poland, Hungary, and East Germany before the Berlin Wall came down. Before, right?
My husband actually went on the East Germany one, but he's an alum as well.
He's an alum. Well, I'm waiting for him to enter the room so we
He's
can have
back
a drum
there.
roll. Oh, he's hiding in the back. So Ed Royce was the alum of the East Germany piece.
And I'm the alum of Poland and Hungary.
Well, that's
And these are for young political leaders aged 25 to 40 that
so-
go outbound. It's an exchange program that's actually now under my bureau.
Well, we're going to hear more about that in a moment. So what are we doing here today? We're going to explore the range of things that Marie Royce does and the experience she brings to the job. You just heard a piece of it, and the challenges that she faces. And by the way, one of the programs she runs, I didn't know this until today, why didn't I know this, is the Fulbright Arctic Initiative. Co-led, did you all know this? How many of you knew this? Not enough. Co-led by Dartmouth and the Wilson Center's Polar Initiative.
Oh,
Of the program's 16 current scholars, 13 are female.
That's great.
And Assistant Secretary Royce was recently celebrated by the female Finnish ambassador to the United States, Kirsti Kauppi, and Fulbright Finland for her support of the program. So I hear that you might be back in October talking about this subject. Finally, saving one of the best for last, I have to mention the guy hiding in the back, Congressman Ed Royce, who is the former chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and also Marie's husband. And Ed has been, over the years, a regular at the Wilson Center. In fact, we've all quipped that we should give him a badge. In fact, we would give you a badge, Ed, if you would just move in here. I have long experience working with Ed Royce. He was a magnificent bipartisan, I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but a magnificent bipartisan chairman of a crucial House committee. And we both, Ed and I, were elected to Congress in the same vintage year of 1963. So it's a pleasure to welcome Ed's better half,
That's great.
the Wilson Center. So, Marie, let's go into more detail on what your office does. I think you have
well, thank you.
slides.
Yes,
to show
I do.
us.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Jane, who's a longtime friend and you know, it's really apropos that the name of this seminar today, this morning, is about women's leadership, and you are exceptional women leaders, so I say thank you for having me today. I appreciate that. And the other thing I want to add is that I want to say that I thought a lot of your former chairman, who was also a great leader, that's Fred Malik. And I thought from the spirit of bipartisanship, Fred was very active in the community, and he was the chair of the Wilson Center, and Jane also spoke at his funeral service. So I want to say that the last time I participated at a Wilson event, Fred was one of the people that was at the podium and speaking, and so I just wanted to say that how much I thought of him. But you were asked about basically what I do, and I would just say, first of all, to the audience, I appreciate your coming to hear about what we do in the Education Cultural Affairs Bureau. We do a tremendous amount of things in the area of educational, cultural, professional exchanges. But just to say it on a big picture, because so much, we say we move people to move ideas. So that's a really big picture. It's really, we're the people part of the U.S. Department of State. We have 350,000 exchange participants a year. Some are funded by the United States government, other governments, private-public partnerships, and also individuals also fund their own exchanges as well. So that's a big group of people. We also keep in touch with 1 million alums who are part of this. And I would just add that one of our number one initiatives that we focus on, since it's educational and culture, is international education. Just so happens this week is what they call the NAFSA conference, and we have 10,000 people in town, but we promote students from around the world coming to the United States to study. We've, for the last 3 years, had 1 million international students. For those...
At one time?
They come annually.
So right now, there are 1
million students. We've had 1 million students the last 3 years. In fact, we're up by 1.5%. We really promote what we call student mobility. And in addition to that, we also want our students to go outbound. So it's 1 out of every 10 students have gone outbound. So which is really terrific, because we feel that if people get to know each other, the world is a much safer place. And we do that partly by the fact that we have 435 Education USA advising centers around the world. So this is very, very helpful. We also teach English language, for example. But what I wanted to do is just give you a little video so you can see really what the Educational Cultural Affairs Bureau does, so you can get a general idea of how it works. So if we could see the video, that would be great.
President Trump's national security strategy pledges that we will facilitate the cultural, educational, and people-to-people exchanges that create the networks of current and future political, civil society, and educational leaders who will extend a free and prosperous world.
The U.S. Department of State's Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs builds relations between Americans and the people of other countries through academic, cultural, sports, professional, and private exchanges, as well as public-private partnerships and cultural heritage preservation programs. The Bureau supports more than 300,000 exchanges each year, including students and professionals to the United States and Americans going abroad. We focus on promoting American interests through programs on key global issues.
The Trump administration places entrepreneurship, leadership, and innovation at the very heart of our economic agenda. There's so many people that need our help, and sometimes you want to be that person that's everywhere. When you're in a network, you don't need to be everywhere. Together, we can do it all.
There are 99 women who have lived this GSMP experience. Is that these 99 women have directly impacted more than 225,000 lives around the world in more than 55 countries.
American diplomats go to work each day to represent the United States all around the world. American students studying abroad also play a key role as citizen ambassadors. They tell the American story and demonstrate American values and ideals to the entire world.
Well, let's have a conversation about this and then bring in this incredibly talented audience to ask some questions. I liked Mike Pompeo's word ambassador because it has always occurred to me that with exchanges, student exchanges, sports exchanges, what you're doing is you're turning the person who's going somewhere else into an ambassador for the U.S. or the other way, the person coming here from someplace into an ambassador for that country to us, and promoting understanding. I have 4 children. 2 of mine went on school year abroad programs in high school for a year each, and the same 2 did a semester abroad in college. And what happened to my other 2? I guess they're just ignorant and they didn't get it. They happened to be the males, the females did the exchanges. Oops. I hope they're listening. You know, what's an example, Marie, of, if you can give us one or a couple, of kids who come here or kids who go there and who really make a difference because they're exposed?
Well, I would just say, well, in fact, I was going to call on somebody who actually did go on one of those student exchanges who's here today. Her name is Catherine, but that was in the area of what we call, one of our exchanges called Congress Budenstag. And that's an exchange program with the Germans where we have our American students go to Germany, our high school students, and then the German students come to the United States. This is a very, very strong program. And I'll call on Catherine in just a minute to talk about her experience. But I also want to share that we also have another program, 26 years. It's a Future Leaders Exchange. It's in Eastern Europe and also Central Asia. And we've got these students coming in for 26 years, and they stay for 10 months with the host family in the United States. So if you actually hear someone from Estonia, they'll say, "I'm living in Des Moines, Iowa." And they're like, "Yay!" And they participate in high school activities. They'll go out for leadership roles, and they do 200 hours of community service. Another one is called, this the Kennedy Lugar Exchange called YES. And that one, we've got close to 1,000 young people, primarily Middle East, very significant areas where we have Muslim populations. They do the same thing for 10 months in the United States, and that's been going on for 16 years. So these are just a few examples. But those are not all just women's programs, but those are just an example of high school programs.
No, well, it occurs to me that many of us, oldies, bemoan the fact that we don't teach civics in high school anymore. And maybe some of these exchange students coming in learn more about civics, U.S. civics, than our own students do.
Well, I will say that. And then also I would share that last year we had a photo contest, a young man named Ian from Montana. Mm-hmm. He actually did a photo that was in Thailand because he went outbound. And his brother, they were actually at a mosque together. He did a black and white photo. And he came back to his city in Montana, and he asked the mayor if he would make International Student Exchange Day. And Ian's mayor actually did that in the city of Montana. And for a lot of people, this is like the only exposure. So you mentioned ambassadors. So we use the word citizen ambassador because we feel like it's so powerful to have the young, all the individuals actually representing the United States.
So what's the range, the youngest exchange student to the oldest?
Well, I would say probably around 14, 15 years old, all the way up through, I just met a scholar yesterday who was a male, who was a veteran, who was a Gilman Scholar, and you know Ben Gilman.
Ben Gilman, former member of the House.
Yeah, the Gilman Scholarship is a scholarship for people that are Pell Grant eligible, oftentimes 50% of them first generation as far as going to college. And he is a person that was a veteran, and he decided to go back to school. He's 51. And I just saw him yesterday, and he said, I just want to say that what the Gilman Scholarship did was not only did he go to school, he got to go to another country and have an outbound experience. And another young lady, Simone, who's an Air Force vet, she's just went up to South Africa. So these are just examples. And the other thing I will also add is You're probably familiar with our late ambassador, Christopher Stevens.
Yes.
We also do the Christopher Stevens Initiative. These are virtual exchanges where students every week, they do an exchange with a school in another part of Middle East. So that starts at age 7th grade all the way up to senior in college. So a young person could work on a program like on STEM. Our American University in Cairo, where is with Arizona State, they're working on a solar project, for example.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. Chris, does everyone know who Christopher Stevens was? They may not know.
Well, I'll tell you about Christopher Stevens. He was our United States ambassador, and he actually learned Arabic in Morocco, and he's very committed to the Middle East. And unfortunately, about 3 or 4 years ago, they had the embassy was stormed in Libya, and our ambassador Stevens passed away, along with 3 other individuals that were working at the embassy. That actually happened on 9/11, and so it's a very, very tragic event. The family wanted a living memorial in his honor, and so we work with Aspen Institute and the U.S. Department of State, ECA. The King of Morocco put money in, and UAE as well, and because we felt that if we could touch more people, at least we can do it through virtual exchange. And I just was, for example, in Virginia at Lord Fairfax Community College. They are doing a project on sustainability with a school in Jordan. So I invited the press in, and the Jordanian students were up on the screen, and our students. And it was really terrific because the headline was, students can live and go to school in rural Virginia without, have an international experience without even traveling out of state.
Well, there is that. I mean, but back to Stevens for a second. So 2 other governments also celebrated or
Yes.
contributed to this living memorial. Can they send their students through this program too?
Yes. So the way it works is we have paid for, out of our budget, and thanks to the U.S. taxpayer and the commitment of the United States Congress, we've been able to have this robust program with a lot of students like Moroccans coming, who are virtual exchange participants with the United States. But the King gave even more funding, so there'll be even more Moroccans participating with Moroccan schools. So that's a real strong commitment.
Well, wouldn't Chris Stevens have wanted that? I mean, here was this guy who dedicated his life to representing the United States in Arab-speaking countries, and was fluent in Arabic. And I didn't know him, but I just think his legend is huge.
Yeah, thank you very much for saying that. And I also think it represents the future, because I believe that we're getting more and more connected, and having young people use their computers or iPhones, being connected to other young people is really a powerful thing.
Right. And, well, you mentioned funding, and I mentioned funding. Is funding for a program like this at risk?
Well, I would just say that one of the things I would share about a program like this is it does have a line item from the United States Congress, so we appreciate the fact that there's a real commitment there. This is a good example of private-public partnerships, where we also even have in-kind contributions of Vimeo, Microsoft, and Twitter. So, and then Aspen helps contribute with the Jeff Bezos Foundation. Sorry, Jeff Bezos Foundation actually contributes as well. So it's a great example of leveraging funding together to try to maximize reach of a program.
What does a program like this cost?
Well, that's a good question. I would just say that
Approximately.
I would say it's approximately $600 a person as far as cost. So
600 what?
Dollars per person.
That's it?
So each individual that's in the program. And my goal, with all the experience we have, we'll be getting down to about $400 per person. So what our goal is to get more scale so that we can reduce the cost. And so each classroom that's involved, it would be basically getting more and more students on and getting more scale. So I would just say it's better to kind of say it. And then our goal this year is to have 40,000 students in the program.
I think that's fabulous.
Thank you.
I mean, I think initiatives like that are fabulous. I just point out that we recently, the Wilson Center honored several people for their contributions to, a global improvement, and one of them was Nikki Haley.
Oh, that's
and
good.
Introducing her was Lindsey Graham. And Lindsey Graham, the senator, chairs the Foreign Operations Appropriations Subcommittee, which funds among other things, the state, I think the State Department budget, but
Yes.
certainly a number of our international efforts. And he said, and I want to ask you about this next, he said the best tool of foreign policy is soft power. And military, and Lindsay's been called a hawk over the years, but he said the use of military power is the last resort. Soft power is the first resort. So, given the political dysfunction in this town, I don't think I'm surprising anyone to say that, and it's dysfunction across this town. It's not just targeted in one place. Tell us. In your words, because this is what you are, you're the Assistant Secretary of Soft Power,
Yes.
why that matters most.
About the soft power?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that, first of all, I would say that these programs were very important for our global security. Our goal is to have a safer, more secure world. And we've actually created our strategy in our Bureau based on the 4 pillars of the National Security Strategy. So we embrace those principles, and and Senator Graham knows that this is very, very important when we have these exchanges. So what I want to also share is, since I was a professor at university, I was a person who was in business. I said in my hearing that under any level of resources, I would marshal them and align them with the highest priorities for foreign policy. So I strongly believe that. But I will also add that we've got the largest budget we've had since this ECA has been in existence, and we have a lot of stakeholders and a lot of supporters and people that understand the value and the importance of what these exchanges are. Again, saying that it's the people part of these connections. They're making a safer world. In fact, there's parts we're in public diplomacy, and that's really what we're talking about today. There's parts of PD, which is when you get the press release, but we're actually working with the people that actually hear the communication, that are touched by communication, and oftentimes see things with their own eyes. In fact, one of the taglines one of my advisors uses that you can't spell America without ECA, which is our bureau, and I think that's a good way to say it.
Very good. Yeah. Well, I know we're going to go to another video we are going to show the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs. But before that, tell us about your experience on the exchange program you went on.
Well, what I would just say is that these exchanges are bipartisan, and they are, in my exchange, I was part of a 9-person delegation that was...
Here's the video. Or is this a different video?
Okay,
What? Wait. Why are we
There we
showing
go.
this? Oh, here
This
we
is
are.
it. So you know that when I went on my exchange, I was selected with a delegation of Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. So that we're from all over the United States, age 25 to 40.
Is this you?
Yes, it's me on the left side.
Okay.
This is in Poland at the Parliament. And one of the other things I think is so terrific about this exchange is that you come together as individuals that feel that you're very different, and you meet in Washington. And by the end of your trip, we went to Krakow and Warsaw, Poland. We also went to Birkenau and Auschwitz. We went on our own. It was very powerful and moving.
Very.
And then we went on to Budapest and Hungary. We found that our differences were gone. We were almost exactly alike as we moved. This delegation became closer and closer as Americans working together on foreign policy and meeting these dignitaries in these countries. So I want to share that these are just incredibly powerful, and I stay in touch with these individuals. In fact, I just went back to Hungary and visited the chief of police. I asked him to come meet with me. We got to meet with the chief of police in Budapest, and he came to meet me at the hotel. So I just, want to share that these are just really powerful exchanges. Another thing I'll add is we have a lot of alums that you'll know, because today we're talking about leadership. People that are examples of alums of this program are Senator Marcia Blackburn, which was another one is Senator Kristen Sinema.
Here's Kay Bailey. Was she on this?
Yes, and Kay Bailey Hutchinson also is an example of a leader. And then and then another program we've got is our International Visitor Leadership Program. That's another program we've got, and this is our Prime Minister of New Zealand. So this is an example of
Oh,
an
that's
outcome.
who's doing a magnificent job,
Yes.
seems to me. Kay Bailey Hutchison was a U.S. Senator from Texas for 2 terms. She's now our ambassador to NATO.
That's correct.
And I mention that because she's been here many times. She just coordinated a breakfast of NATO ambassadors to the U.S. there was a NATO celebration here about a month ago. And that breakfast was at the Wilson Center.
That's wonderful. But these are examples, as you can see. Today, a lot of our focus is on women's leadership and also the power of partnerships. But you can see that these are our goal is to continue to build the leadership bench for women in every area. So just as another example for you is that last year we spent $25 million and had put out 150,000 women on different programs. So this is very powerful. You saw in the video an example in the area of sports mentoring, where we won ESPNW's top award for the Global Sports Mentoring Program, where we pair top women around the world in sports with our top women in sports. That's an example. This is Dr. Sarah Hillier. These women are from around the world. There I am with the group. So what happens is a woman like, for example, be paired with the head of the PGA or be paired with ESPNW. And so what they do is they spend 6 weeks and they learn actually how to professionalize sports back in their countries. And as mentioned by Dr. Sarah Hillier on the stage, 99 women impacted 225,000 individuals. What you didn't see there was what I saw sitting in the audience is Dima, for example. Dima had a brunette, short hair, wore a dress, came up on stage. The screen came down, and we had Dina and her Haji in Jordan with the Syrian refugees, with thousands and thousands of young people, teaching them soccer, football, and they were out there with thousands of young people. So what you're seeing is an example of a person who, through sports, is managing and mentoring thousands of young individuals. So that's because they've learned how to be leaders and bring that leadership out into the field. So I just want to share that as an
I
example.
think that is so powerful. Keep talking about that.
Oh, well, I just want to say, and no, I just think it's really powerful because one of the things I find that when I go out to communities is that sports is one of the top things that people say is helping them. I was just actually out in Szeged, Hungary, for example. Young girl raised her hand. It came in what we call the American space, which is, and she said, you know, with sports, I've learned never to give up. I work on a team. And every single attribute or thing she talked about, I said it was just incredible. And also it really helps with people, they're disenfranchised, that don't really have a place in society, and it really brings everybody together. So that's just an example. I just had another young lady here from Russia, Lubka. She was excellent. She's in the area of field hockey. She came to the United States. So we've got these incredible individuals. So I did want to share that with you.
Well, you know, what occurs to me about that and the value of sports for women leaders or potential future women leaders is that in sports you learn to be on a team.
Yeah.
You also have to learn how to lose as well as how to win.
Yes, exactly.
And a lot of women select out because they have to be perfect and they have to win all the time. And you can't win all the time in sports or in life.
Exactly.
So what good training is that?
It's definitely good training. And we have I don't know if we have video pictures on these, but I want to share we've got just a few other examples of good exchange examples. One we've got is Fortune Women, which we've done for 14 years. So this is an example of Fortune. So we've used the same concept where we pair women with top women CEOs, for example. These are women around the world that are selected by our U.S. embassies, and they come to the United States and they receive a mentor. I'm here with the Assistant Secretary Kimberly Breyer of Western Hemisphere.
Who is she?
This is our
white
one of our
jacket?
our former ambassadors who is a 3-time ambassador. She's at the Foreign Service Institute. Myself, and then Kimberly Breyer, who's our Assistant Secretary. We brought the women in the room before they took off on their mentorship with their mentor, and then I see them at the end up in New York after they've had their experience. I was really powerful, this connection we had in the round table for about an hour. We talked a lot about even just about workplace balance, about trying to, you know, obviously everyone has balance, things that they try to do with their family, their job, and so it's really a terrific thing to be able to be there for people. And then the group actually creates incredibly strong connections. I believe the mentorship is close to 6 weeks. So major corporations are participating. You could, like Johnson & Johnson, BBC was involved, J&J, I believe IBM. These are just examples, so I shared that. Another example, I don't know if we've got it up here, we've got 2 programs in the area of tech. We've got tech women and we have tech girls. So I wanted, okay, tech women, that's a great example. We had women from 98 countries who came to the United States. They actually have a mentor. They go up to Silicon Valley and actually also to San Francisco. These women are so excited to be together. They're very technical, and it feels like computer science, telecommunications, and they received these mentors. And one of the mentors actually got for Lockheed Martin huge accolades. Her name is Miriam Nawabi. I'm doing this from memory. Ms. Nawabi is one of the best mentors, and she's with Lockheed Martin, who's one of the mentors for these women. So, and then we also do the tech girls, and tech girls now is age 15 to 17. So these young girls come together in kind of almost like a camp environment, and they learn tech skills. So that's just an example of another one, so you can get an idea.
Well, when you think about the challenges going forward, where are the new jobs coming from? They're going to be in the tech skills. And we have a challenge here. We talk about STEM education, and we at the Wilson Center have a science, technology, and innovation program.
That's great.
Which is not only trying to get ahead of all these issues, but we train Capitol Hill staff, bipartisan, bicameral, in things like cyber and artificial intelligence, which are things they have to understand better if they're, God forbid, going to legislate in these areas without sufficient information. Anyway, I want to turn to the audience. I just want to ask you one more question, and that is, what are your top 1 or 2 challenges going forward?
All right. Well, I want to make sure before we run out of time.
Okay.
Is I can answer that question, but I also want to answer it with something I wanted to share, which is about our Academy of Women Entrepreneurs initiative.
Okay.
I want to make sure I share that with everyone. So one of the challenges for the United States and for the world, I would say, is getting more women to the global workforce. And what we want to do is ensure that women have the skills. And this is part of we have a new initiative from the White House called the Women's Global Development and Prosperity Initiative. And this was signed into law, and it was in February. And our goal is to bring, if women just had parity in the workforce, 50 million women would bring $28 trillion to the global economy. And that is really powerful. So what we've done is we've now created, from our bureau, in recognition of this initiative, we have a number of Fulbrighters in here that are part of our program around the room. We also have women that are part of what we call the Humphrey program, which is kind of a part of the Fulbright program. We decided to create something called the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs. And the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs we're launching it from my bureau in 26 countries. We have a tested program that was in Ecuador for a year with Ambassador Todd Chapman through Arizona State program called Dream Builders, where women learn how to create a business plan, marketing plan, raise capital. They also have a whole ecosystem with mentors, the chamber, and multinational companies. In Ecuador, we had 1,000 women go for 52 spots. We've now decided, since this is going through Thunderbird, Arizona State, this program, we're calling it Academy of Women Entrepreneurs. It's available in Spanish and English, and we're now translating it into Portuguese and French. Again, we're doing 26 countries. So I just wanted to share that because it's really important for women to have skills and to actually learn how to create their own businesses, be responsible for themselves, and obviously, kind of take them to the next level. So that's a challenge that we're trying to meet is the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs.
Terrific. I think I'll leave it there, and let's take questions. Please, we have microphones. State your name and ask a question rather than make a big speech. We'll start over there, and then we'll go to Hala Esfandiari in the back on the right. Right here with it looks like a blue sweater. Microphone coming. Microphone is not coming? Microphone is coming. Okay. Hi. Let's hope so. Microphone is on.
Thank you so much. My name is Arifa Khalid. I've been a congresswoman in Pakistan for past 10 years, and I have studied from America too. I did my master's from George Washington University in MIPP. So it was a great experience for me to study from here and work there. And your this women leadership program is amazing. I mean, whatever I just saw right now. So I had a gap because I was away for 10 years. My children, my family was here, but I wasn't here. So I think that I really want to ask you if you're doing any women leadership programs in South Asia, because I think there's a lot of need of especially women leaders over there, and that there is kind of some disconnect I always see between men and women leaders in that area. So it's not very easy for women leaders to work over there. So if you have a program and it is looked after well in those areas, that is really going to help for the global peace, for soft power, whatever.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I will let you know that our largest group of alumni in the world is from Pakistan. We have 25,000 alums, and I was recently in Pakistan. I was there last July. We have a number of initiatives in Pakistan, and I will share that I saw 156 Fulbrighters to the United States. I also spoke at their alumni conference. Another thing we do in Pakistan is we actually work very strongly in the area of inclusion. We believe in very much that people that are disabled should be part of society. I had a chance to meet some wonderful alums, a female who came up to me who was blind. She wanted to thank me because she said, yes, okay, I'm sorry, a female that was blind that wanted to thank me because she said that she was chosen to be on what we call our International Visitor Leadership Program exchanges. And she told her parents she was accepted. She had never traveled out of Islamabad. She went to 3 cities in the United States. And she ended up coming back to Pakistan, and she told me she's trying to change the laws in Pakistan. She wanted to ensure that people that are disabled are integral parts of society. So I also will say that I also recognized a young leader last year, part of our Emerging Young Leaders program. These are the top young women coming in the United States, and from around the world we recognize, and her name was Danya Hussein. Danya was 18 years old. She just did an amazing job. So thank you. And I also say for the audience, some of you might also know another program we are very involved in. It's called the International Women of Courage. Yeah, and the International Women of Courage are the top women who are nominated by their embassies around the world. And when they come to the United States, we actually take these women on they call it again the IVLP, this exchange program across the United States where they actually get a mentor. So it's really powerful.
Isn't that the one that has the award ceremony at the
Yes.
State Department? And I think that program was started by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
Yes, so this is me speaking.
There you are.
So Secretary Pompeo spoke, Melania Trump, the Women of Courage were speaking, and I spoke about the IVLP, which is so people would always think, well, the women just receive an award and then they go home. Well, what happens is they actually do receive that recognition, but then they actually go out to close to 20 cities. They go across the United States. They get mentors in the field of their interest, and they end up in Los Angeles at the end, and they actually get small grants from the American Women of International Understanding at the end.
I was just going to say that's a very important program. Secretary Clinton also started the Women in Public Service program, which stayed at the State Department for a while and then migrated here, and now is likely to migrate out of here to one of the women's colleges. They were the original sponsors of it. And by the way, I went to a women's college, Smith College, which has a huge number of Pakistani students. And I think it is extremely impressive that there is, at least from South Asia, this, I think it still is true, the large number of brilliant women in American universities. Haleh Esfandiari, who was the director of our Middle East program for many years. She's an Iranian American. Microphone going there. had a very up close and personal and bad experience in an Iranian prison when she went home to visit her mother some years back, but she's here.
Thank you, Jane. How do you choose these exchange students and also the families here and the families at the other end? I mean, do they apply to a U.S. consulate in the city, to the embassies, and is there a panel that decides?
Yes,
who
well,
can come?
I'll share one example. We'll just talk about Fulbright as an example. This program's been around for 71 years. In my bureau, there are two presidentially appointed boards. One of them is Fulbright, has 12 members of the board. These Fulbright board members are actually the final deciders of this. We have a 10% increase, the biggest demand we've ever had. They go through thousands of applications every week to make that decision. And one thing I want to share is that this is we call it really a merit-based application. We just had the new logo launch at the Senate, and I spoke at that event. And then in addition, we had a Fulbrighter who spoke. She said she was from Kentucky, first-generation student, was a community college student working for 10 years to finish community college. She wanted to do a project in China and applied. Her first time she did not get accepted, tried again, was accepted, and went off to China to do work on data sets, on science and math. And consequently, she is now a person that spoke extemporaneously at the Senate. And what she said was, people would say, well, you know, how could you be a Fulbrighter? You are a community college graduate and you're not from Yale or Harvard. But what she said is this just goes to show that this program completely embraces American values. And because, again, it's a meritocracy, it's merit-based system. You asked about host families. They're strongly vetted. We have a program where people apply. There's thousands of these amazing families across the United States, and then there are also families in other countries. For all of these programs, we have a lot of rigor around them and people that monitor. I talked about my strategy for which is wrapped around the 4 pillars of the national security strategy. The last piece is what we also look at, which is operational efficiency and impact, and that includes monitoring. So we just want to share with you as that's how we do it. And then a lot of these programs, which you'll see a lot of them, they're like the International Women of Courage, the Tech Women, Global Sports Mentoring. We talked about Academy of Women Entrepreneurs. The embassy is involved in selecting those people. And I know, for example, in Fortune Women, there were obviously many of these programs. There's more people that want to be part of it than there are people to match them with. But in Fortune Women, they try very hard to match up the women that want to be part of it with a mentor that is a good fit for them. So what happens is they'll say someone's from South Africa, they have a business. I'll just say as an example, we had a lovely lady from Colombia who was a coffee farmer. So they had a really good mentor for her. So therefore, there's a lot of things that go into how do you pair people together, how are these people selected. One thing I'll share is really exciting and wonderful about the United States is we also teach English to children in different countries, and it's called the Access Program. Mm-hmm. And many of these, it's a 2-year program, and those young people, which I had a chance to meet with them in Vietnam, they're around 15 years old. Oftentimes, actually, now that they've got the skills, they now apply for our scholarships and our other programs. So it's just amazing to me. It makes me so happy to know that we're doing this, and it's another example of a project.
Oh, look at all these questions. The woman right here in gray, and then there was somebody in the back on the aisle would be next.
Thank you so much, Assistant Secretary Royce and Mrs. Harman, for today. I'm Zerlina Bartholomew, and I work in international education, and I'm an alumna of ECA exchange programs. So
yay,
thank you so much.
Wonderful.
So my question is, I work with high school students going to Middle East and North Africa through Yes Abroad and Nestle Y, and one of the tenets and projects that we're working on continuously is recruitment and geographic diversity, and that is racial, ethnic, socioeconomic. So how do you have any words of advice that I can share with them to encourage students from underrepresented groups in areas in the U.S. to have them join programs, and the importance of exchange, especially when representation is not is a working in progress?
So your question is about active participation in the United States or recruiting?
So the students I work with are American nationals, so going abroad and then coming back. But the recruitment strategies of
But it's how you reach these people to get them to want to join this program.
Exactly.
Well, I would say, I think a lot of it has to do with, I would just say, based on my experience, is the teachers are very active. I've been finding with Christopher Stevens' initiative, as an example, the ones that are most interested are the teachers, because they're the ones that have to kind of be the champions. So trying to reach those schools, it's always a challenge, and those individuals. But I would just say, whether it's globally or inbound, we're always looking at ways to try to increase the representation and the diversity. We want to make sure we're also recruiting in a lot of different places that we might not be traditionally in. That's a good example with Gilman Scholars. We're having more and more people. That's what we talked about too, and even Fulbright as an example, where we have schools that were never part of it before. They're now part of it because they learned about it. We also are giving grants out to universities, and we are to try to develop more capacity. So I just want to say that those are a few things I'd say. By the way, Jane, I want to know if I could call on a couple of our
Please
individuals.
do that, and we'll take a few more questions, and I have one final question.
Oh, I wanted to just say we have two wonderful young ladies who've been on our exchange programs, and that's Catherine and Kelly. And I'm going to ask Kelly and Catherine to just share with us their experiences, and if you could share which program you were on and
Great.
what your experience was, because I've asked them to just kind of join us.
Why don't you stand up and face the audience so they can see you, and do that.
Okay. Good morning. I am Catherine Kigera. I participated in the Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange Program in 2003 and 2004. So I went as a high school senior abroad. I was the first person from my high school to ever travel abroad. I'm from a small town in Michigan. Well, not that small, but small compared to where we are now. I'm from Saginaw, which is about 45 minutes north of Flint. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Flint. So, yes. So while spending time in Germany, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot of ways that I could be more vulnerable, ask for help, really bring that into what I do today. So I went on, I studied international relations, comparative politics. I got a doctorate in cultural and linguistic diversity and disability studies, and that's a very big mouthful. And I went on to work for DC government. So that was my trajectory, which is very, very quick overview of what I did and the program I participated in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to share about my Fulbright program. Good morning. My name is Kelly Zug.
Oh, sure. Oh, that's a better idea. Why didn't we have it sooner?
Good morning. My name is Kelly Zug, and I did the Fulbright ETA program in Bulgaria in 2013. And during this year, I served as a cultural ambassador by teaching English in a high school and volunteering in a local orphanage in a small town there. My year in Bulgaria really showed me firsthand the importance of listening first before acting and the importance of service and developing relationships. And this experience motivated me to work in the fields of international development and international education. I actually worked with the FLEX program, the Future Leaders Exchange Program. And on behalf of a U.S. foundation, I served as a field representative in Eastern Europe in an international development sphere. And specifically, while working in Ukraine, I realized the marriage of necessity between cultural diplomacy and security, because understanding cultures allows us to foster alliances and international relations, but also security builds that necessary foundation for the longevity of trust. and development initiatives in foreign policy. So currently, I've taken that experience to now work in career services at the Institute of World Politics. We're a graduate school here in DC that looks at this marriage of necessity between cultural diplomacy and security. And I'd just like to say that although there is not a domestic service requirement for the Fulbright program, I certainly try to remind myself daily that exchange is really a two-way street. And I have a photo of my 9th grade class right by my desk at work as a reminder, and I certainly appreciate the types of experiences that the Fulbright program has provided me.
That's great. Well, thank you very much.
Wow. It occurs to me how lucky I am. I fled Congress 8 years ago, as many of you know, to join this bipartisan oasis with civil conversation and deep knowledge. And we have a majority female workforce. We also have 40 languages spoken. And I think a lot of people who work here come from experiences like yours. It's very diverse from all over the world, but it matters. I mean, it's changed both of your lives. I assume you would both agree with me about that. And I bet, Marie, you had an earlier experience, but
Yes.
I bet this job, which sounds fabulous.
Thank you very
just
much.
saying, has enriched your life too.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that happen is people that see me go to an event, they're always surprised that I stay a long time at the event. It's because I get so energized by the
Exactly.
people I'm speaking to. Their eyes are sparkling. They're talking about their experience. It's just amazing what these exchanges do. And the other thing that my advisor at the Bureau says is it's so impactful because for those that come inbound, they, we're, as Americans, we live in a glass house. So people have the experience and make up their own minds. They come to their own conclusions. And that's why it's so powerful, because it's their
Right.
experience. And so consequently, that's what I think is just so powerful about these. And these are indelible memories, just like you shared how you remember everything. In fact, when I was just in Hungary, I had hosted some of the Hungarians at my house about 20 years ago, and I asked them to meet me at the hotel, and I'm from California, as is Jane. One of the young women said, I remember vividly being at your house. We just arrived from the plane, and you had guacamole. So I said to myself,
That would be a Jane experience
but
too.
she could see everything.
Plus
visualize,
tequila.
because I was yes, exactly. But I want to share that because this is really, it's the people-to-people relationships that bring the ties.
Absolutely right. Let's take two last questions, and then I have a final question. We'll bundle them. There's a man in the back, second row to the back. I mean, men are involved in these exchanges too. We should not make it seem like it's only women.
Good morning.
Yes.
Aaron Vasco from Salisbury University, and I'm a Fulbright 2015. And I just wanted to ask, I think the concept of citizen diplomacy is so incredibly powerful. And is there anything that you wish that either higher education institutions or just, citizens, at large could do to help you promote the programs or get the word out about how important that kind of citizen diplomacy
Well,
is?
thanks for making that comment. That's an excellent comment. What is your name again, sir?
Aaron Vasco.
Aaron, thank you very much. Well, there's a group in the United States called Global Ties. It's about 40,000 individuals that are actually in all these cities, because we cannot do all these things without thousands and thousands of individuals who volunteer to help implement these exchanges. So, for example, if you go into a city and you're going to have the experience and meet with a business, there'll have been a business owner that's volunteered and said that the exchange participant can come to my business, for example. Another thing we do is we also work with Sister Cities International. Sister Cities, as many people know, is they pair cities here in the United States with cities overseas. So those cities are very important as well. For example, I was just in Hungary, and they have a very strong relationship with Ohio. The Department of Defense also has a program, too, with National Guard, for example, where they pair National Guard with different states, states with different countries. So we really, again, feel the people-to-people relationships. But in an example of Global Ties, I think many people could be part of these programs and helping individually. Mm-hmm. And if you've heard a program here that we talked about that you think you might be interested in, couples we do geographically, which I didn't talk about, but just from men and women, We do things like in Africa, we have the African leaders. It's called YALI, Young African Leaders. 49 countries, or the young leaders from Western Hemisphere, where they actually get paired with businesses in the U.S. It's called YLI. So, for example, if you have a business here in Washington, and let's say a person comes in, they will get to know what it's like to be with your business, and then now they increase their supply chain and the connection. So there are a number of ways people can participate. And by the way, I don't want to fail to recognize someone who's in the front that joined us. Christina, can you please stand for a minute? I just want to say thanks for coming here today. She's the Deputy Ambassador for Spain. And so we have a very good relation with Spain. And so I want to say thank you for being here. We have a number of initiatives we work on together. One of them is actually in the area of culture. Another one's, we just celebrated the 60th anniversary of Fulbright. King Felipe was the
Who has been here.
Oh,
by the
is
way.
that right?
Oh, absolutely.
He went to Georgetown.
Everybody good comes to the Wilson Center.
Oh, that's wonderful.
What do you not understand about that?
Oh, well, that's great.
So can I embarrass Ed Royce for 1 second for the last question or the last comment, Ed? My last question on Get Ready is about what do you want your legacy to be. But Ed, you were for so long in Congress, you ran one of the few bipartisan committees. You chaired it for years. It is the committee that worries about a lot of these issues. I'm the one who just said I fled Congress a long time before you did. What is Congress doing best on this range of issues, and what could it step up and do a lot better?
I think that one of the things that's important is for members of Congress to travel together around the world to learn about the world. And the opportunity for those types of exchanges are just as important as the types of exchanges for students that we're talking about here. So I would just share that insight for my colleagues. I think it will always be true, and it's especially important as complex as the world is getting today.
Okay, well, I'll just piggyback on that and say that I was a longtime member of Codell McCain. The late John McCain led a Codell congressional delegation to the Munich Security Conference and always had stops on the way to various places. And the Munich Security Conference was, and I think still is, the premier defense-focused conference in the world. And what McCain would do would be to bring together a diverse group of members and teach all of us about foreign policy and defense policy. And the legacy he leaves, as far as I'm concerned, is that he was a prime educator of other members and a prime introducer of members to other members, and that was a very valuable thing. So, Marie, to conclude, what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I would just say thank you for asking that, and I want to share that I believe strongly that I want people to see that what we do is integral to foreign policy. I want people to not think that these programs are just nice to do, but are key to making the world a safer place. These thousands of individuals that come inbound and outbound are very much part of our global and national security. Also, I want American taxpayers to understand and value the importance of these programs and understanding how important they are. And I think that for many people in the room, you understand the benefits, but that one of the things it is whether you come into a city and just like being the first person for your high school, or let's say a young Muslim person who comes to a town and they've never seen a person from another country, it's really important to understand that.
Well, your passion for your job comes through. The other thing that occurs to me about you, just listening to your experience on an exchange program yourself, is pay it forward.
Yes.
I mean, you clearly have taken that and you're applying it to a gigantic number of people. I mean, there is the opportunity in the job that you have to affect even more people than the Wilson Center does, much as we are. Does anyone doubt that I'm shilling for the Wilson Center? No. But it's a wonderful place, and we have international scholars here, and we have programs that have geographic reach, and we're voted number one in the world in geographic expertise. But my point is that the job you have has scale and really has a boombox that you're using. And I just want to say on behalf of everybody sitting in this room and everybody listening somewhere, someplace, thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for having me today, Jen. Thank you very much. Great to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you.